So welcome back. My name is Paul. A lot of people know my videos. I have a big YouTube section and a number of websites. Some of the topics I really get into are 2012 and ancient history, mythology, and so on. But I thought I'd spend some time here on a really popular subject and a really important one about cosmic cycles. Because a lot of us, we don't have time to get into all this stuff, read the books and whatever, and we want to have someone come explain to them a little bit. Now, it's kind of a deep subject, so I'm trying a new approach here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to produce something that's perhaps maybe an hour or so long, but I'll break it into segments. And for a really long time, people have watched the stars around our little planet here, and if you look through ancient history, there's a lot of records. At some points in history, people were keeping incredible track of the sun's position, the stars' position, the earth's position, and they had some very sophisticated mathematical techniques that they used over a very long period of time in cultures like China, ancient India, Babylonia, Sumeria, even the Native Americans and people who were living down in what's now South and Central America. So all over the world, of course, Egypt, a lot of attention has been put on cycles. There's a good reason for it. Now, there's been a lot of theories, and naturally that information has gotten diluted and changed, and it's really hard for us to judge. But now with modern science, we have certain things, machinery we can use to observe, and we also have a lot of ancient records, and we can start to correlate a few things because people have studied the ocean beds and the Antarctic and the glaciers and the Grand Canyon and all the different places around the world people are studying. And it's definitely pretty clear that there are certain cycles, and one of those grander cycles has been identified, and it's not precise. You don't go from precise second to second when you have 100,000 years, but our Earth goes through periodic points of getting warmer, and then eventually over a long period of time it takes to get warmer and warmer and warmer, and then eventually the currents change and something happens on a really massive scale, and the Earth goes into ice ages. Now, it's hard for us to comprehend all that because, we don't live very long, and we can debate it from the time we're born till the time we die, and it's hard for us to really get a handle on this because there's a lot of information. Now, what we have is records from the past and some basic concepts. Now, one of the things I'm going to illustrate here to get into this to begin with, and this all relates to 2012, and I have here a really old symbol for a unit, an atom of hydrogen, the sun. That's a really old symbol. And it has a lot of inference for people who understand if you think about it for a while. But anyway, on a much larger scale, our sun, as everybody knows, is part of a galaxy. And this is a galaxy. You look at it on the side, pretty much they spin like a spiral. A lot of different shapes, kind of, depending on their speed and so on, how much material's in them. But they spin, they have an axis, and along the center of the axis, as according to the natural laws of physics, because something's spinning, there's centrifugal force. Imagine if you had a big, circular saw, and you just keep cranking it up, and it gets faster and faster and faster and faster. At some point, it gets so fast that the very edge of this, the energy going out, the edge of this thing starts to heat up. Because there's energy here. There's a stream of energy around something that's rotating so fast. It just starts to push out like that. And eventually, if it spins long enough, something like this, all the material will either get sucked down in the form of a black hole in a spiral-like fashion, and basically just shoots out the other side in some kind of like this donut-shaped, moving, pulsing cycle that goes in and out. Now, our sun as a lot of people know, is located with the solar system on the edge, roughly sort of an edge of a galaxy. And we're out here somewhere, and every so often on this cyclic pattern, we go across the edge of this galaxy somewhere from above this plane down to this cycle happens. And they figured out that basically that's a roughly around 25,630 years, 26,000. So you use a round number of 26,000 years. And half of that is roughly 13,000, depending on how you calculate it all exactly, because we know a rough scale. Now, the Mayans had it calculated down to a fairly precise number, and they claim that, now modern astronomy is confirming that we're about to go through this, what they call the galactic ecliptic. And some scientists have reported that due to learning the ice cores up in the North Pole and the South Pole, they believe that there's roughly an age cycle over roughly 100,000 years. And I have it sort of calculated out here where every fourth time it goes over across the ecliptic, something rolls over, something happens, and we go into a cooling ice period. Okay, and then for a long, long time it cools down, and then it starts to warm back up slowly, slowly, slowly. Now, there's a Mayan, I believe this is a Mayan number, 5126 or 5161, somewhere around 5,000 years. About four of those, or five of those make one full cycle crossing the ecliptic. So, now, the question is, what's going to happen when we cross this ecliptic? Now, obviously, if we have this energy coming off the middle of any spinning object, on a huge, massive scale, there should be, and is, some form of extreme energy spinning off the edge of our galaxy, right off this edge here. And if anybody goes through across this thing, then at the very least, it's going to be affected by that energy that's coming out from the center. Now, it's a very, 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 very narrow band. Now, on a galactic scale, they say, well, you could say theoretically that on one hand the sun takes quite a long time because it's actually, even though it's a huge fitting thing, it's not like the edge of a knife. It may be like, take hundreds of years for the sun to go through this. But at some point there's actually an exact point, usually with any kind of, even though it might be like, the finer the material gets, which now there's light and cosmic arcs of light and energy coming out from the center, spinning out here, and basically will slice across our solar system or our sun. Now, our sun naturally is going to have to absorb that energy. And supposedly, this is what they think now, which seems pretty clear, that all the planets in our solar system and our sun's heating up, and this massive thing is happening. And if we go into the cycles that we're actually heating up, we're in the heating place, and then eventually, very soon, it could go zoom right back into an ice age. Zoom, and it might take a little while, but in the middle of that, there's certain events that could happen as you get closer and closer to this precise place of the galactic plane. Now, nobody really knows what's going to happen, but I have some theories, and I'm going to discuss them a little bit more in the next segment.